When the COVID 19 pandemic took a grip of the world at large, the New Zealand model of disease containment was being hailed as a success story. But today, it is facing thousands of COVID 19 cases, anti COVID protests, and economic downfall. How did this happen? Well, Jacinda Ardern's zero COVID policy is the reason. Hi and welcome. You are watching TFI Global, the foreign affairs and geopolitical analysis arm of the TFI Media Group. I am your host Sanbeer. In this video, I will tell you how Jacinda Ardern's zero COVID policy has destroyed New Zealand. Let's begin. Amidst the ongoing pandemic, all countries have realized one thing: you will have to learn to live with the pandemic. Only two countries, China and New Zealand, did not realize this, and the consequences for these two countries haven't been great. China has, of course, faced a massive economic downfall and an alleged 1.7 million deaths. Kiwi Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern copied China's zero COVID strategy, and it has led to three major challenges in New Zealand. Number 1, lack of natural immunity and rising COVID 19 cases. Number 2, anti-COVID lockdown protests. And number 3, economic downfall. When the COVID 19 pandemic struck, countries around the world closed their borders, issued travel restrictions, and imposed nationwide lockdowns. It made sense because such measures helped avoid COVID 19 cases and ramp up healthcare facilities. But after a few months, countries naturally opened up. New Zealand, however, never gave up its containment strategy and adopted a zero COVID approach. Every single case was followed by tight lockdowns and aggressive containment measures. On August 17th last year, New Zealand received its first case of COVID 19 since February 2021. Yet, only 4 hours later, Ardern declared a tight level 4 nationwide lockdown. Don't you feel it was a little too much? Health experts criticized the zero COVID strategy, called it archaic and misinformed, and designated New Zealand as a hermit nation. Every time Kiwi authorities imposed a huge lockdown following a single case, they felt they were saving lives. But they weren't. They were actually exposing their own citizens to new variants by making them vulnerable. Last year, the US Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, or CDC, revealed how natural immunity helped resist the Delta wave in the country last year. In California, it was found that people with vaccination and no prior infection were at 6 times lower risk than those who had neither. On the other hand, those with both vaccination and prior infection history had around 29 times lesser infection rate compared to those who were unvaccinated and unexposed to the virus. Due to Ardern's zero COVID approach, Kiwi citizens remain totally unexposed to the virus. Any new variant threatens to leave a bigger impact on New Zealand's population as compared to other populations who have learned to live with COVID 19. So, the result is that New Zealand is now in the midst of a major Omicron outbreak. Over 18,000 cases were recorded on Saturday alone. This was only slightly better than over 20,000 cases recorded in recent days. The number of deaths is also going up. 5 people died on Saturday, bringing New Zealand's pandemic to 68. Meanwhile, anger is brewing against Ardern's zero COVID strategy and pandemic restrictions. Roads around New Zealand's parliament in Wellington were clogged for over 3 weeks by protesters' vehicles. The protesters want an end to coronavirus mandates and travel restrictions. On Wednesday, New Zealand police even used brute force to thrash the protesters and clear roads around the parliament. Ardern is turning undemocratic in her approach. On the other hand, New Zealand's citizens are fed up of her tight lockdown policies. During the third quarter of the ongoing financial year, New Zealand's GDP shrank 3.7%. The economy was hit by the restrictions that followed a Delta outbreak in the country. New Zealand is running out of patience and willpower for Ardern's zero COVID strategy. The country will have to open up sooner or later. However, there is a big immunity gap because Kiwi citizens could never develop natural immunity unlike other populations, and this puts them at great risk of more infections and more fatalities. At the end of the day, it is Ardern's decision to copy China which is to be blamed.